Record. 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 You want to hear? You want to hear the story? Okay. I'll tell you the story, Max. I'll tell you the story. So, I stepped out of Idiotville today, right? Yeah. Into the so-called real world. I'd heard about a group of devotees in my capital city who meet every Sunday at 11 a.m. in a embodied capacity to worship at the altar of Sister T. Let's call them the London League of Leaf Lovers. And I thought, if there ever was a real world channel that I might wish to like and subscribe to, surely it would be this one, right? Yeah. So I grabbed my trusty Gaiwan, some Rai Pu'er, and I headed off into central London to meet my people. My people. I have been trying to meet my people, or maybe I should just say people, ever since I first came to this island at the age of 15 and was assaulted with what my tormentors at the time might have called banter, which basically involves roasting another human being until they cry and then telling them, that they don't know how to take a joke, that this is just how we show our deranged approximation of affection on this idiotic island. For if we didn't care, we would simply pretend that, that you don't exist. Do you want this? Oh, and we do that a lot too. Yeah? Not just here. I mean, geopolitically, of course, this has come to be known as Brexit. Yes, we need your olive oil, your coffee, your oranges, your nurses, carers for our disabled, sick and dying, your cultural exports and functioning emotional frameworks, because, you may have noticed we don't actually grow or make that stuff over here. But does that mean that we're going to put in even the smallest little effort to enter in a kind of relationship or conversation of sorts with you? Fuck no. Splendid isolation, chaps. Emphasis on our splendidness. I mean, look at our stately homes, our war memorials, our Sunday roasts and other roasts. This is what the U of K has always historically been about, so why stop now? Conversation in Great Britain, we might say, has 3 gears. 1, pretending you don't exist. 2, breaking you down for sport. And 3, letting you know just how much more we know than you know in order to stake our conversational turf. And this, I discovered today, is also pretty much how the London League of Leaf Lovers works. Did any of those 20 people gathered at the Barbican actually taste, or maybe the better word would be savor, even a single sip of the various teas that we brewed up for each other and, proffered, all the while banging on for hours and hours on end about who knew the most about whatever type of sister tea they had brought to the event? Of course not. I have never been to a swingers party, but I surmise it might be a little bit like this, only, imagine the participants, in this case, literally banging on about the buying and consumption of tea, right? It's a bit like, who are you fucking today, George? Oh yeah, I'm fucking Mike's wife. You? Oh, I'm fucking your wife, George. Any good? Yeah, not too bad, when I was teaching / traveling / living in China / Singapore / Taiwan, 2 years ago, I think I fucked someone like your wife, George, but, with smaller tits, less meat on her. Smaller tits? Yeah, and even though, you haven't asked me to expound on this, but I shall, even though smaller tits, proportions is what I say it's all about, George, proportions. It's like, It's like when you see a perfectly restored vintage Mini Cooper, you know, like Bradley over there, you know, who's, you know, fucking Derek's girlfriend. You know, Bradley drives the the Mini, right? Clean lines, tight form, nothing unnecessary. You don't look at that and go, oh, but where's the bull bars? Where's the roof rack? Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. That's right. You respect the craft, my friend. You go, all right, now that's a proper piece of work, if I might say so, George. Oh, you all right, love? Yeah, don't worry, I'll be finished in a moment. The world, sings Morrissey, is full of crashing bores. And before you lambaste, lampoon, or cancel him further for being a misanthrope, or a self-pitying miserabilist, just listen to how slyly or wryly in the next line he deflects out of derision by going, and I must be one too, because no one ever turns to me to say, take me in your arms, and love me, and love me. And perhaps, I would say, this is the greatest tragedy of us language-using human apes. For what really do we have over the other animals than this sort of elaborate and, for the most part, utterly self-serving human language, you know, as well as maybe the desperate hope that someone, somewhere will understand the precise shape of our yearning and not run away from it or ignore it. For if I had to strip away all the performative guff and dick measuring that was going on today in that so-called Temple of Tea for hours on end, all the idiots swilling back just the most expensive and exquisite nectar of the gods, well, the nectar of Sister Leaf at least, you know, as if it were flavored water, which I guess it kind of is once you subtract the mystical or ecstatic element from it. If I had to translate what I saw in the eyes of my fellow humans today in that sanctimonious church, rather than trying, as I did, to, you know, sift through the nonsense dribbling from their lips, and it's all nonsense, whatever the topic, I would have seen, and in fact I did see, when I looked into their eyes, over and over again, a very simple human primate desire reflected in each and every face. Notice me, approve of me, tell me I belong. Today, God help us, because this was in, you know, the old-fashioned carbon form rather than the newfangled virtual kind that we've all become so accustomed to on here when it comes to human discourse. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Yeah, that's how it went. And yet we continue. We continued to fill the void with jibber jabber, you know, with my tea's better than your tea, with all our pomp and posturing, which of course no one does better than King Charles and his subjects, I reminded myself today. And it all just ultimately translates into, I'm better than you, even though we're both going to die, even though we're both probably suffering in very similar ways, but I'm better than you, and that's why I'll do the talking, you will do the questioning, and thus our time together shall pass through the two of us saying stuff. Before us fashionable apes found language, or language found us, we would try to get ourselves noticed, approved of, loved, and yes, of course, sometimes killed by other primates through much simpler and less convoluted means. A grooming session, a shared piece of fruit, a rhythmic chest thump, or just sitting close enough to each other, as Max and I are doing here, to convey safety, warmth, and belonging. No clever reviews, no hierarchy building over the subtle minerality of a second steep, just our touch, our presence, and the unmistakable message that this might convey. So what to do, you say? What to do, Mr. Therapist? Fuck knows. Stay in Idiotville is my solution to all of this. And yes, of course, I am predominantly talking to myself on here. We all are on YouTube. I mean, even those videos that have 10,000 likes and all the endless comments. Because let's remind ourselves, a comment, folks, is not a conversation. And a conversation, for the most part, at least from what I've observed, having participated in these so-called conversations outside of, let's say, therapeutic discourse is really nothing much more than a bid for attention rather than connection. Again, Morrissey. What really lies beyond the constraints of our minds, beyond the constraints of our words and our so-called knowledge of tea or chi or anything else for that matter? Could it be, sings Mozart, in his song, "The world is full of crashing bores," could it be the sea, with fate mooning back at me? Fate mooning back at me. Such a gorgeous line, such a hilarious line. And a true line, because our fate, whatever it is, even if it is to be marooned in our consciousness or perhaps on, this idiotic YouTube channel, does ultimately, let's face it, consist of, well, maybe just more verbiage, right? Endless hours of it spoken aloud to a mobile recording device attached to a tripod. Fate, good old indifferent fate for all of us, is ultimately dropping its trousers and showing us its good old shit-smeared monkey buttocks and arsehole, whether we like it or not. And I, for one, would much rather actually have been witness to the shit-smeared monkey buttocks and puckered arseholes of my fellow apes today than the self-aggrandizing drivel that fell out of their mouth holes as they slurped on their favorite flavored water as if it were, well, water. But then, I have always been an idiot, so what do I know?
This world is full, so full of crashing balls, and I must be one, 'cause no one ever turns to me to say